Hello, all, and welcome to Trinity Online for the 19th of February 2023. Our narrative lectionary takes us into an interesting place here for Transfiguration Sunday. It's a time of choices being made. Matthew 16. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life? For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of the Father, and then he will repay everyone for what has been done. Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in the kingdom." 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and his brother John, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. Suddenly there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him. Then Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, we will make 3 dwellings, 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." And while he was still speaking, suddenly a bright cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud a voice said, "This is my Son, the Beloved, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell to the ground, and they were overcome by fear. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Get up, and don't be afraid." And when they looked up, they saw there was no one left there but just Jesus, all by himself. God's story, our story. So it's interesting how in the Gospel of Matthew, the story of the Transfiguration is put really closely together with this whole section, which for a lot of us is kind of a disturbing paragraph in almost all of the Gospels. This section where Jesus is really telling us that if you are going to be a follower, if you are going to follow me, there will be a cost. It's not necessarily, usually we like to feel and like to think of ourselves as being fulfilled, as being our lives being wonderfully rewarded and really kind of growing into ourselves, but realizing at the same time, as Jesus does, that to truly live a God life, and not just our own life, but to see things and to speak things as God sees them and as God would have us speak, would also mean that there are definitely going to be times when there will be a price to pay not like in some sacrifice, but instead a price to pay because a lot of society is just not going to really want to hear it. And you may have to stand up for some things that will make people wonder what you're about, or that will put people into conflict with you. It's really easy when you're hearing this and you hear the words cross, and it's really kind of strange to be thinking about the cross here halfway through the gospel, not at the end. But so what is Jesus really trying to say with this? One of the things to really realize as you're reading this is to look at the dynamic of the language. Because first of all, Jesus says, if any would be a follower, really what Jesus is saying, it's literal in Greek, that if anyone would like to walk the same road that I'm walking, if anyone wants to walk with me on that road, then, and then we have these words, deny themselves. You'll have to take yourself and you'll have to put yourself aside. You'll have to put a lot of your preconceived notions, a lot of your ideas about, you'll have to set those aside to follow me, to kind of grow into something maybe that is a little different than what you had in mind. And Jesus says, you'll have to pick up your cross and follow me. Watch that language really carefully, because a lot of times when we hear it, notice how we shift it. We'll say things like, "Oh, well, she really has quite a cross to bear." And it's usually somebody else kind of foisting that cross upon that person, or that there's something in life that is happening that is really outside of your own control, and it's just like, here's this cross that I have to bear. And that's not at all what's happening within this text. Jesus is saying, if you want to walk the same road that I am walking, then you will have to actually actively pick up that cross daily and follow me. I think what Jesus is saying is what we were talking about before, that to follow him, to truly follow on the same path, you have to be ready. Not that, see, even Jesus himself, we could even put Jesus in the position of a victim. Even once we hit the cross on Good Friday, we could make Jesus the victim of all of these forces, or even, kind of strangely enough, the victim of God's righteousness, that God has to extract a price to be paid for our sinfulness. And so then Jesus becomes the victim of our wrongdoing, the victim of our sinfulness. But what we see here is more of a sense that Jesus is saying, almost like, okay, the cross may be the end result, but what I've got to tell you is what's really important is the life that I'm leading, the way that I'm walking, the truth that I'm speaking, the honesty that I'm revealing, that those things could lead to a cross. You have to be ready. You have to be ready that if you are truly going to speak the truth, if you're going to, cast light on people's shenanigans, if you're going to cast light on their wrongdoing, if you're going to cast light on questions of idolatry or greed or self-seeking, then be ready, because there will probably be a price that you'll have to pay for that. But you're actively picking it up by leading that life and by speaking that truth. You're not seeking the cross like, oh, this suffering is going to make me better, but you're realizing that that may be a point in this journey. How many times, we kind of dabble in God, we kind of dabble in Christianity, we kind of dabble in the faith, where, it's almost, some people have said that, church and kind of its less than positive incarnations can almost be like a vaccine against God. So a vaccine against Jesus, where you kind of get little doses, little somewhat harmless doses of God during the course of the week, so that you don't get a full-blown case of God later. What would it be like? How many times in life do we come up against something where we just really know that something is wrong? There's something happening right now. I don't really kind of want to get into it, but something that's just really nagging on me, that there's just something happening in our community where something's just not sitting right, and it's kind of happening on a large scale. And I'm asking myself, do I say something? Do I speak out? Do I go on public record? Because if I go on public record, there may be people that are friends of mine or people that I know who will say, whoa, what's this? What are you, and boom, there's the pushback. There's the price for being able to speak what you see as the truth. And realizing that, I may not have all the facts, and so I could, open myself up, and that there would be dialogue back and forth, and I may find out that I was completely wrong. I would rather be shown that than hold on to just like being right. But the whole thing is, do I dare say something? Helmut Thielicke, wonderful German theologian, said that a lot of us think of a time of judgment as a time when we have to look back on our lives and face all of the bad stuff that we've done. And Helmut Thielicke says he thinks that we've really gotten it kind of wrong, because he thinks that what we'll have to do is stand in front of God, and rather than doing a review of what we've done wrong, God will show us what could have been if we'd only been brave enough to step into God's possibilities if we'd only been brave enough to trust in God, and that might actually be more painful than having to face our own little foibles. What would God have you do? It's a wrestling match. A wrestling match that only you can tackle. No one else can foist it on you. Only you can tackle it. And at the end of the day, it's really what's going to count. To take a different path. To set aside so many things that we consider and the society considers, and to truly walk the path with Jesus. What would that be like? A question only you can answer. But Jesus is asking. Amen. Amen.
Praise the one who breaks the darkness with a liberating light. Praise the one who frees the prisoners, turning blindness into sight. Praise the one who preached the gospel, healing every dread disease, calming storms and feeding thousands with the very bread of peace. Praise the one who blessed the children with a strong yet gentle word. Praise the one who drove out demons with a piercing two-edged sword. Praise the one who brings cool water to the desert's burning sand. From this well comes living water, quenching thirst in every land. Praise the one true love incarnate, Christ who saw